Welcome to the final question in this IT prac exam from 2021. This is the June paper. If you want to practice some prac exams from IT, here's a good one to do. And we are doing the last question, which is the complicated one, and it's probably going to involve arrays. So let's get into it. So question form, they give me this interface and they can see that there's 3 different malls and there's a populate and display and there's a count. So there's 2 questions. They tell me there is an array shop types, an array already been declared, and it's got different types of shops like electronics and toys and laundry. And there are 3 text files. Each of them have different malls, so there are 3 different malls. Each line of text in the text file represents a level in the mall, and the characters of each line represent or indicate the types of shops. So I've got a funny feeling the first letter. So L, I've got a funny feeling it was a laundry. So that would be I think that would be the first level of the shop. So that would have a laundry, an electronics, a jewelry, a clothing, and a furniture, because the first letters of those are over there. Each character. There we go. If you read that, it's exactly what I just said. The second line, there we go. So they explain that. And then they want, on question 4.1, you must use the text file of the radio button to compile the file name, which indicates the text file. Read the contents of the text file into an array. So I'm assuming we must make an array for that if there isn't one. The maximum number of levels in a mall is 10. So they don't say they're all 10, but the maximum level is 10. Display the lines of text representing the types of shops in all per level. Display the lines of text. So we need to display it like that. And then the number of shops per level. So the number of shops will be how many letters there are. If you can see there, the length of that is 5. The length of that is 9. So it means display the length basically of the string. And then they say display it so that it's right justified. So we actually need to put this on the right. They said it has a maximum of 25 spaces from there. So it must be, okay, so that's a little bit technical. Let's just get basic stuff done. Remember, when you're doing the last question, you're running out of time and you might not be able to do everything. So let's do what we can. So first of all, I'm going to get the values from the text file and put them into the array. Now I've got it open over here. I've already got the text files open here, and you can see that there are different lengths. And then if we come here to the code, always remember to put your examination number at the top. They give me an array for the array shop types, but there's no mention of an array for the actual shops in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own array. Let's go over here. Let's make an array. We call it array shops maybe. And that's going to be an array that goes from, they said maximum of 10, 1 to 10 of string, because they're going to have all those letters. And I'm going to have an R-level variable, which is going to tell me how many values are actually in the array, because not all of them are going to go to 10. Like this one's going to go up until 6, and this one will go a bit further and so on. So that's going to tell me how many values are in the array. So the first thing is load the stuff in the array. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're doing text file handling. If you remember your text file handling, do they mention anything about error checking? No, they don't mention anything. I'm going to just assume that we must do the error checking. So they say read the content into the text file. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to do this text, but this one later. Let's just get one working, and then we can see that we got our text file algorithm working. So I'm just going to use one. So let's just go into zombie mode and we start doing our text file algorithm, which means we need a variable called myFile of type text file, and we need a sline of type string. Okay, so that's what we need. And then we're going to go if file exists, one word, Mr. Long, and we are looking if that equals to false. Which one are we looking for? This Barbados or Kensley? Let's do Kensley.txt. Now we're going to change this later on to whichever one they select, but let's just get it working. Remember, you're running out of time. You want to maximize your opportunity to get code. So show message, file not found. They don't mention anything about error checking not being done or being done. I'll just do this just in case, because sometimes they do allocate marks for this part of the system. So I do that, and then I'm going to say, okay, what's the first step? Next step is assign file. We assign in my file to this text file. Okay, so that means from now on, we're just referring to my file. Then we're going to start at the very beginning. We're going to say reset my file. And then we're going to loop, because we don't know how many values are in the text file, while not at the end of the file of my file. Do begin end, and we're going to read line from my file into that S line variable. and then at the end we're going to close file, my file. My biggest tip for question 4 is there's going to be stuff that you do know and you need to know it well. If they ask you questions like reading from a text file, you need to know that algorithms like this quickly. You type it in very quickly, you give yourself the best chance. If it's an array sort or something like that, know it well so that you can just type it in and go. Okay, so that's going to do each individual line of my text file into SLine. What do we want to do with SLine? We want to put it into my array shops, which means we're going to increase the level. First of all, we need to set level to something. So before we even do this, so we're going to set it to 0. Then the moment we find a line, we are going to, whenever you add in populating a text file, you increase the size variable. So we're going to, not our level, we're going to increase it or make it equal to itself plus 1. Both those are correct. Increase it, so now it becomes a 1. And then in array shops at that R level, because it'll be a 1, that's going to equal to SLine. And then it's going to do the loop again. Get the next line, increase it to a 2, put it in position 2, and so on. And that's how you populate the array. So we could do another loop outside here that goes from 1 to level to do the display, but we're doing this in one go, so we might as well do the display over here. Once we've done it, I'm going to just do a basic display where we have a 1 dot and then the actual. So that's the level. Do you notice that's the level? So level 1 display. So I'm display the level and display the text. I just want to see that it's working. That's first of all what I want to do. So I'm going to say, so the rich edit dot lines dot add, we are going to add the level followed with a dot, because I think there's a dot there. And then we're going to add, now I want to test that it's going into my array correctly. So I'm actually not going to display SLine. I'm going to display the array shops R level. I want to display that just so that I can see that it's actually going into the array correctly. Now the problem here is our levels are integer, so we're going to go int to string for that, and then a dot. Okay, so there we go. So I think that's okay. So let's just double check. So we're using Kensli, and let's run it and see what it does. So we don't even need to click one of them. We can just go populate display array, and that does look like Kensli. There we go. We can see that it is getting the correct data. We are on the right track. Now the next thing I'm going to want to do is I want to be able to do it for any one of the text files. So I'm actually going to make a string called sFileName. Ooh, that is not file name. There we go. sFileName, and we're going to set sFileName. That name is going to be based on this radio group, which is radio group Q4. So if the radio group, which one? It's group 4. If its item index is equal to 0, then the first one is selected. Then we know that our text file is the Kensli one, which is the one that we're actually using. So it's equal to this. So I can literally just copy this and say file name is equal to Kensli, else, and this is where we can get quickly. We just paste it, and now if it equals to a 1, we're going to do which option? So that's if it's a 0, that's if it's a 1, it's Barbados. And then we're going to just do it again for the next one. Copy it, paste it, and fill in the values. I'm going to do it quickly. Okay, so that way we've determined what the file is being used. And so instead of using the name of the text file over here with file exists, we can use sFileName. And same over here, we can use sFileName. That will work to determine which text file we are using. There's no error checking that is required. I'll just put a semicolon there. There's no error checking that's required to see that if it's a -1, that means if they don't select a text file, which is, they didn't say we must do that. I'm not going to worry about that now. I'm just going to try. So if it's Kensli, it works. If it's Barbados, it works. And if it's mainstay, it works. Okay, I should probably clear the memo control, but it looks like it is working. So let's just clear this rich edit. Not the memo control, but the rich edit .clear, just so that it works every time. So we can test multiple ones. So that's one way of doing it. Just a little tip. Another way of doing this is if you get the radio group's item square bracket 0, that'll get the first one, which was Kensli's whole name. It'll actually just get the word, it'll get the word Kensli, and then we would need to add on a .txt to get the text file part. So you could do something like that to get the file name of the one that at position 0. But to do this in one step, you can actually do this in one step. The 0 is the item index, or if it's a 1, it's the item index, or if it's 2. So we can actually take that item index and say, get the item at the position that is at the item index of that radio group, add on a .txt, and then do the file name. That line of code is the same as doing all of that, but you do which one you understand, and if that makes sense to you, do that. It's quicker. If not, do this, because it's quicker to do something that you understand than to do something that's quicker to type but you don't understand how to do it. So do whichever one makes sense to you. Okay, so now we've got the different text files. So we've used the radio button to determine which one to display. We've got the contents in a text file. Now we must display it looking like this. Now, first thing is we need to do some sort of, looks like some sort of headings. I'm going to do that quickly for us over here. After we've cleared it, I'm going to do the headings over here. So there I've done the headings. So let's have a look. So they say display the shops must be right justified. You can assume that the maximum length of a line of text with the types of shops, including the spaces, is 25. So from there to there is 25 characters. So if that has 5 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we need to have 20 spaces and then that. If this is 10 levels, then we need 15 spaces. So basically I need to work out how many spaces I need to add onto each other before I type in the shop's name. So I actually need the length, which I'm going to actually use over here anyway. So I might as well work out the length of the string so that I know how many spaces to do, but also know how to put over there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a integer here called, let's call it number of shops, num shops. And I'm also going to put in an R spaces as well as a for loop variable, just in case I need something to loop. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, once I've done the extract, I've got the S line, I've got the shop, the level of the shops. I'm going to say, okay, the number of shops is going to equal to the length of the string. Now at this point we know that S line is working, we know that that's working. It doesn't really matter which one I use. I'm just going to use that one for now. Whatever the level is, how many shops on that level, find the length. Now that in that case is going to be a 5 for the first one. Now I need 20 spaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a spaces string maybe. Let's do that. I'm going to make a spaces string, S spaces. Don't get confused between the number of spaces and the spaces. So how many spaces do I need? Well, if it's 5, I need 20. How do I get that? Well, the number of spaces is equal to 25 minus the length of the string. So if I've got 25 spaces and 5 are going to be used up by the shops at the end, then I need 20 in front of it. If it's 10, I need 15. So that's how many spaces I need. So I'm going to go for I equal 1 until this spaces variable. So if it's 20, do 20 spaces. If it's 15, do 15 spaces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that string, the string spaces is equal to whatever is in spaces plus another space. I'm basically adding on spaces onto each other, but I should initialize this to something. Initialize it to the null string. So it's got nothing in it. We've worked out. So the length of the shop is 5. We want 20 spaces. So go from 1 to 20, just add spaces on. So now when I do the level and I add the shop, I'm actually going to add the spaces string before I add the array for the shops level. So you see what I've done. So if there are 5 shops in a level, then I need 20 spaces before. So I'll work out 25 minus that 5. That's how I get the 20. So then I'll go from 1 until that 20, set spaces to nothing. So go from 1 to 20, add a space, add 20 times. So it's going to add level with a dot. Then it's going to add 20 spaces and then the shops level, which we know is 5, which will be the full 25. Let's test that to see that it's working. So let's click Kensley display. There we go. Do you see how it did the 20 spaces and then the 5? Then for this one that's 10, we did 15 spaces and then the 10. Why 15? Because we said the space is equal to 25 minus the length. So when it's 10, 25 minus 10 is 15. So that's why it's adding 25 spaces. And then after that, we need to add a bit of a gap. If I remember correctly, there's a bit of a gap. Let's assume that's a #9. Let's go #9, and then we're going to add the number of shops, which is that value which we worked out was the length. But that's an integer. As long as we convert that from an integer to a string, and then let's run it and populate. Boom, there we go. And if it works for all of them, there we go. Okay, so there we go. That one's done. Let's move on to the next one. 15 easy marks there. The only tricky part there was the space working out, really. But the rest of it was very doable. So I'm sure you can get a majority of those marks, even if you can't get the space. So just do what you can in this last question. An inquiry about the number of shops of a specific type per level in the mall must be processed and displayed. The user must enter in a character representing the type of shop using an input box. Okay, so get the mark, get the input box. So let's do that straight away. We're going to come here. Let's do that. Come here to that button. Let's do an input box straight away. We want the type of shop. So I'm going to make a variable called S-type, sort of type string. As I said, if you're running out of time, you don't have to read the whole question. Just get what you can. Let's make that spelled correctly. Okay, so we can say S-type is going to be equal to an input box. and we want the type of shop. So I'm going to type it out ahead of time. So there we go. I typed it up. Just a little tip as well. When I do input boxes, I put a default value in straight away. So let's say if that we can check straight away. So we don't have to type that out every single time. So that they say, so we're going to prompt them. An error message must display if it's not one of those letters. So if it's not one of those letters, then it's a problem. So how do I know if it's not one of those letters? So we're going to, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a string called options, S options. And my options is going to equal to every possible letter that is, so it's EJF, so we're going to type in EJF, CRT, and L and G. So I think those are all the possible shops. So how do I know if the letter that they type in is one of those possible? I don't think they mention anything about we must convert it if they type in small letters. But to make our life easier, I'm actually going to make this uppercase so that we can, even if they type in a small letter version, we can at least get the letter that they want. Okay, so how do I know if what they typed in is one of those options? Well, we want to say if the position of the type that I'm looking for in S options. So if I type in an A, what's the position of an A in there? It's 0, which means it's not there. So if the position of S type in options is equal to a 0, then that's a problem. So then we say show message, and what message do they want me to show if the character is not within the range. So I'm going to say invalid option, invalid shop type entered. Maybe you want to give them the options available, but we haven't got time. We're going to just do that for now. So that's that option over there. Else, if they have typed in the correct option, then we're going to do all the stuff that's going to be done here. So this is the end of the else, so I know where it is. So we've got the relevant type that's got a valid. If it is valid, the number of the specific type of shop must be determined per level. So if we typed in furniture, we're going to say F. There's only one F there. There are two Fs in that one. You see, so we basically count in how many times that letter appears in the string. They wanted me to type in a label with the actual type of the shop. Okay, so I'll do that last. Let's do this one. This one's probably going to be more marks. So I'm going to do this part first, do the number per level, and then just do a 1. So we're going to loop from 1 till the end of the level. We know that our level will be how many levels there are, and we're basically going to search for that S type, count how many times they are in that loop, and then go on. So let's just do level 1. Maybe that's the best way. This is a nested loop. We're looping through this array, and then for each value in the array, we are looping through a whole bunch of letters in a string. So this is actually a nested loop. So let's just do, my rule with nested loops, just get the 1 working. Let's just get level 1 working. So we're just going to do level 1. So we're going to come over here. If it's working, then we're going to take just the first string. We're going to take the array shops 1. That's the one we're working with. We want to loop through that and count how many S types there are. If they're Fs, how many S types there are. So we're going to do a count. So we need to have some sort of count variable of type integer. And we are going to go, okay, our count is equal to 0. We are now going to loop from 1. It's R. So we need an R variable for my looping variable. We're going to loop from 1 until the length of the string. Because remember, we want to go through L, E, J, C, F. We want to go through all of them. So that's the length of array shops 1. And what do we want to do? We want to count if array shops 1. Okay, this is going to be tricky, but I need you to try to get you to understand that square bracket R. Okay, I know this is going to be weird to understand, but basically think of array shops R1 as like one whole string. So if that was stemp, then stemp square bracket R would be the rth character of stemp. So this is one whole string at position 1 in the array. If this is too confusing for you, then what I would suggest you do is we go and make an stemp. I know some people do get a bit confused with this. Stemp is going to equal to array shops 1. So from this point on, we can actually use stemp. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. So I'm going to go, okay. So let's go stemp position 1. So does that make sense? Stemp is the same as the value in the array at position 1. We loop from 1 till that value. Get if I is the same as S type. That's the type that they asked. And if that character that we're looking for is the same as F type, then we're going to increase our count because we have a count variable. Are we happy with that? Now, once we have done that and we've got all the counts done, the loop is done. This is where the loop is done because it's only doing one statement. Then we can say the rich edit .lines.add. We're just doing line 1. So we're going to put a 1 dot space. And then I'm going to put in our count. So we put the text like that. Now remember, our count is an integer, so we must convert from an int to a string. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then if you remember correctly, there is a bit of a gap. So let's put a #9. And then number per level is what I'm going to put at the top. I'll do that now. So let's just do a #9 here rather, just so we line it up nicely. Okay, are we happy with that? Let's test that. So that's only going to do one line. I'm actually going to put in a couple of blank lines here, just so we can see the difference between the stuff that we display and the stuff that we're doing now. I'm just putting 2 blank lines there just to see the display. Let's have a look. When I click Kensley, so if I go and I count the number of Fs, there's a 1. Okay, so let's try a different shop. So you see there's multiple Fs in that one. So if I type in an F for that one, it says 3, and there's 1, 2, 3. That is correct. So it is working for the first level. So we agree that this code over here is working for the first level. But now we want to repeat this whole process. We are going to do all of this again. So I'm going to make another variable. Let's call it J. You could use a better name. I'm not going to use R level because we've got an R level already. So I'm going to use J, which is my levels. R goes from 1 until how many levels there are? That's my R level variable do. And I'm going to do all of this, the display, everything, because we're going to do all of this for each level. We want to count, and you notice the count equals 0 is inside here as well, because when I start with the next level, when I do the next level, when I count here, F, the counting of F, we must set our count back to 0, so we get a new value. So that's a 1, that's a 2, and so on. We must start from 0 at the start of every level. That is why our count is inside this loop. So we're going to do this, our level, go from 1 to 6 or 1 to 15 or 1 to 10, whatever, how many levels there are. And instead of doing shop 1 every single time, we're going to do shop 1 and then shop 2 and then shop 3. When I say shops, I mean it's level 1, level 2, level 3, and that's indicating the level. So instead of that, we're going to put a J there. So this will get the shops level 1. Do this for level 1. Then it's going to go to level 2. STemp is going to be the string that contains all level 2 shops, and do level 2, and so on and so on. And then this 1, we actually don't want to display that 1. We want to display level 1, and then 2, then 3. That's for the level. So that's going to be the J variable, which we're going to make it int to string. Okay, and then let's try that. So I just did it working for the middle bit for 1 level. This is all for 1 level. And then when it goes to level 2, then we change STemp to now do level 2, and then it becomes a 3. Make this level 3, and so on. It'll work with that every single time. Let's put a plus over there, Mr. Long. So we click Kensley, click display, and we want all the Fs, and there we go. If you look over here, I think we do get the correct values. 1, 2, 4, 4, 1, 3. There we go. So that is correct for furniture. The only thing that's missing is we must do the type of shop. So let's just do that part as well. So we're going to come over here. We need to work out the type of the shop. So you want number per level and type of shop. So we're going to do that over here. Before we start doing the levels, let's just do that over here. So I've done the typing already, but how do we get the actual name of the shop? Now, the one thing we haven't used is this array that they've given us. If you notice here, there's this array called array types. What I'm going to do, this might be a good idea. What you could do a loop that goes and checks the first letter of each value in array shops. And the moment you find a match, so you could loop from 1 to 8. And if the first letter of the value in array shops is the same as the letter of the type, then you've got the full name. So we could do that. I'll show you that code quickly. That is the easy way to understand to do the example. So what we could do over here is we could go, okay, I'm going to use this J loop again because I'm going to finish using it before I start using this one. For J equals 1 to 8, because there are 8 different types of shops. If the value in array shop types, remember we're using shop types now, and if that first character of that one, so you can use copy array shops, comma 1, comma 1, or you can use square bracket 1. If, like I explained earlier, you could have used square bracket 1 as your option, but if you don't understand that, use the copy. So if copy the first character from it, and if it's the same as S type, then we can say the shop type. So I'm going to come here and make a string called S shop full, because we want the full name of the shop. I'm going to come here and say, if that's true, then S shop full is equal to array shop types position J. Okay, but we want to do this before we display that. So I'm actually going to move this over here. Let's first work out the name, and then here we can type in plus S shop full. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. So let's test it to see that it works. It's load. Remember, you've got to do the first part first before you can do this part. So that's why we've got to do it. But be careful there. I think I'm using I here. It should actually be J. It's actually using J. So let's try that. Okay, remember when you are testing, remember this is dependent on this, so you have to click on that one first before you can do this one. So we want F, and there we go, I got the right one. But there is another way of doing that quickly. What you could do as well is if we can get this in the exact order as it is over here. I'm going to copy these quickly. That's the order that they are in the array shop type. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to come and paste it over here just so I can check it. It's electronics first, then jewelry, then furniture, then clothing, then restaurants, then toys. Do you see how my string over here is exactly the same order as they are in the array? Now that makes it very useful because when I find the shop name, when I do this, instead of doing all of this, what I could do is I could say S shop full is equal to the value in array shop types at what position? Well, at position, well, if the type is at position 1 in options, that means it's E, then that's the first one we want to get here. So I actually want to find the position of S type in options. That's the position. So let me explain that quickly. The position of S type in options will find its position in here. So if we get an E, the position of E in there is a 1. The position of J in there is a 2. So if we get position 1 in that, it'll then get, so for example, electronics. If position 1, it'll go get array shop types 1. If it's the jewelry one, it'll get position 2. Because type is position 2 in there, it'll get the second position. So that's how we will get that. So you could do that in one line by doing that. And you'll see that it works exactly the same. It says first select, they didn't find the file because we didn't select one. There we go. And then go over here. And there we go. You see it works exactly the same. It still says furniture. Okay, so you could do that in one step. But remember, the key to that is that those letters need to be in the correct order that the values are in shop types, and then it'll work. Okay, so that's another fancy way of doing it, but I think you'll get the marks either way that you do it. Just do the way that you understand, and I think that's all. It looks like it's all, and then we can test it with the other ones, and there we go. That's the 15 marks. Well, it's quite complicated, but it's not impossible. If you broke it down into its little steps, then you can do that question. Okay, so there we go. That's good luck with that. Now go to our playlist section in our YouTube channel, and you can find other exam papers that you can practice if you find you need more practice. And good luck for those exams. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button. Maybe follow us on TikTok at Mr. Long Education, or look at our WhatsApp channel. We've got a WhatsApp channel at Mr. Long Education as well. So find us on WhatsApp and share us with your friends so we can help them as well. And remember, don't do it the long way. Do it the Mr. Long way.